Am I the a-hole for not being the nicest about my not father having cancer? Plus updates. Original post. I'm Sophie, 22 female, and I have two older half-brothers, 25 and 27. The man who had been raising me as my father, 54 male, found out I was not his biological child, my two older brothers are, when I was 7, and promptly abandoned me and divorced my mom. He was very involved up until this point and was actually in the middle of coaching my soccer team when it happened. He abandoned that too, and the assistant coach had to take over. Anyways, he ended up paying child support to my mom for me, probably because he was the breadwinner. And him leaving my mom left us two in pretty dire financial circumstances. I was also yanked out of the private school my brothers and I attended. He remarried a few years later to a woman with a daughter a year younger than me and promptly did everything with her that he used to do with me. Rough for them. Sophomore year of high school, some organization was hosting a father-daughter dance in our school gym while I was around campus with some friends, can't remember, and we vandalized the fancy car he pulled up in. Not something I'm proud of, but I'm mentioning it here because although I paid for half the cost of repairs, he graciously paid the other half and decided not to press charges. Anyways, now the old man has cancer. Both brothers and stepdaughter are out of state with the school, and his wife has early arthritis or something, not really sure. He calls my mom and asks her if either of us could drive him to and from chemotherapy. We were in the car and he was on speaker. So I told him no, that's something family does, and has made it very clear he doesn't see either of us as family, and hung up. Mom is doing things like bringing casseroles and driving him. I don't try to stop her, but I don't help her either. But she has recently started to try and guilt me into it, saying he always paid child support. To which I said the amount of money he lost on that was about as impactful as a fart in the wind for all money bags. He did press charges about his car, to which I said, great, he did one nice thing for me, so he can get one casserole or one car ride. Now my siblings and his stepdaughter have all flown in, and my brother says he, not dad, really needs to speak to me. I had to tell him that if he has something to say to me, I don't want to hear it, and if he writes me a letter, I'm not opening it. I said I was sorry for what they were going through, but that has made it very clear I'm not his family, and so I don't want them asking me for things they would ask of family. However, they're struggling, and the more they ask for help, the more my patience wears thin, and the more insensitive my rejections get. My mother recently talked with me about being the bigger person. Am I the a-hole? Also, please don't leave comments like, the real a-hole is your mom for cheating and committing paternity fraud. Like, thanks for that one, Sherlock. And my mother and I have reconciled. Edit, my mom is pushing me to be the bigger person because our pastor says it will have a healing effect on my soul. She's very religious. The situation is more complicated than not dad being an innocent angel victim and my mom deciding to do paternity fraud for funsies. I might do a separate post or something to explain since this is anonymous anyway. While her circumstances don't excuse or justify her actions which were still wrong, having the full context made me more amenable to forgiveness. Edit/update. I have agreed to speak to him and will do so sometime this weekend. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole. The man who had raised you as his own daughter for 7 years suddenly dumped you. It was not your fault that your mother had cheated. You loved him as your father, and he ripped away your security, your family, your lifestyle, and I'm sure a good chunk of your heart. That is not something that is easily forgiven. Maybe your mother is helping him because she still has some sort of sense of guilt, but that is not your guilt to carry. That man did you very wrong, and I wouldn't shed a tear when he died if I were you. I am sorry your brothers are suffering. It's understandable. They are worried about their father. But he has not been a father to you for 15 years, by his own choice. How much is one child supposed to take? Not only did he withdraw his love and affection, but then he made you watch as he showered that attention on another little girl who was also not his child. He seems to have no problem loving her. The hurt and trauma he has caused you is not easily gotten over. It sucks that your mom is so quick to overlook the damage that was done to you in order to try to rehabilitate herself. It's not about being the bigger person. The injustices he did to you were inflicted on a child. He had the opportunity to do right by you and chose not to. Your mom's infidelity was not your fault. The relationship you had established with him for 7 years meant nothing to him, and now he means nothing to you. And that's okay. Couldn't have put it better myself. Not a-hole. I can definitely understand why the not father would have been hurt and angry all those years ago, but he was the adult in the situation. He took out his feelings on an innocent child who loved him as a father, which is an action that's within his rights, I guess, but the current fallout is well within the expected consequences. As for the good points, well, child support is his legal obligation. And about the car vandalism, he'd have been a major a-hole if he had actually pressed charges then. Lol. OP owes him nothing. Not the a-hole. He burnt that bridge. As well as he should have. Can you imagine if someone posted in AITA, "My wife of years hid that our 7-year-old daughter isn't mine. Am I the a-hole if I leave?" 90% of the responses would be, "Not the a-hole. Get out of there. She's betrayed you and you'll never trust her again. It would be harming the daughter to stay around when you don't love her, etc." But once the bridge is burnt like you said, you can't expect help from those same people years later. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. My mother recently talked with me about being the bigger person. You are already the bigger person by choosing to forgive your mother. The way you were acting is vengeful toward your not father, but not in any way out of line. From what we know, you haven't gone out of your way to do anything harmful or manipulative. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone calling you an a-hole. Definitely not the a-hole. I hate that term, be the bigger person. It's always the wronged one that has to be the bigger person. As an adult to a child, he had a chance to be the bigger person. Pastor can get his church members to be the bigger person, but don't feel guilty and don't be roped in, OP. Now for the first update. Sorry for the long wait for the update. To be honest, I completely forgot I made this post in the first place. Well, he's dead. Family fessed up to all the requests for help, basically being plots to get me and him in the same room. He was in hospice care, which I mixed up with being in the hospital in my original post. He started out by basically wanting a bunch of life updates from me. Basic things like what college did I go to, what was my major, where was I working now, did I have a boyfriend, etc. He asked me if I still played soccer, and I said no, not since he left me. He looked sad and said I was really good, and I agreed. I had humored him with casual talk for about 10 minutes, but I made it clear that I wanted answers, and for the visit to be on my terms. So this was the segue into the deep stuff. I told him I had questions for him, and he agreed to answer them. 1. Did you miss me? He looked kind of offended by that, which I thought was very audacious, and said, "Of course I did." And I snapped back, "Could have freaking fooled me." And there was this awkward moment of silence, but I decided to keep going. 2. Why did he leave me? He talked about how he was betrayed by my mom, and looking at me was a reminder that he had been tricked into raising another man's child, and then I got upset. I told him, to me, I was his daughter. Maybe not on a DNA test, but here, pointing at my heart. He just got quiet and said, "You're not mine, Sophie." 3. Why wasn't I, as a person, more important than the results of the paternity test? Was I an easy child to abandon? He looked kind of shocked by this one too, but I wanted to know. He goes, "No, of course not. It has nothing to do with you." But I snapped at him to tell me the truth, that I deserve that much. And he said very bluntly, "2 kids are less stressful than 3, Sophie. So yeah, sometimes I was relieved you weren't around. Especially as a single parent, okay? But there's nothing you could have done to change or overcome the fact that you're not my child. You're the one I got tricked into raising. You weren't mine, and you still aren't. I'm sorry, Sophie." This is where the list was forgotten. And I just said, "But you treated your stepdaughter like yours, no problem." And he said it was different. I quietly asked if she was a replacement for me, and he said he wasn't going to dignify that with a response. I asked if he wasn't going to apologize. Why did he ask me here? He just said he wanted me to know I was in his will. I said, okay, I don't forgive you. He looked kind of shocked and said, what? And I just repeated, I don't forgive you. He said okay and looked really sad and added that he will pay my student loans via the will. I told him the conclusion I had come to, that forgiveness was the kind thing to do, and I wish I could have given it to him, but there was just too much hurt. He said he understood and I left. If he put you in his will, I think he does care for you, and in a way admits you are part of his life, as in you're his daughter. But he doesn't want to admit it because he was tricked. As for that stepdaughter, again he married his new wife knowing she had a daughter, not tricked or anything. I'm not saying what he did was correct or anything. He is messed up. In a way, he wanted to save face. I'm not condoning what he did. I'm also a female, but just looking at his deathbed situation in an unbiased standpoint. He abandoned a 7-year-old child that he had raised into infancy and loved because of DNA. Divorce her mom for cheating? Of course. Completely turn his back on her and expect forgiveness at the end of his life? Nah. Like I said, I am not condoning what he did. He did this to her. She's innocent and a victim, out of spite, due to her mom cheating. I'm stating a reason why he put her in his will. He wanted to save his face from embarrassment, but have love for her, but can't love her due to his ego. It's hard to explain. In the end, it's all because of how he treated a mom. This led to his downfall. Oh, honey, I really wish I could give you a hug. I'm estranged from my birth father and mother, raised in foster care, and after I was 24 to 25-ish, they separately both tried to reach out to me. I wrote them both letter that stated they threw me away like trash, and so are no longer my parents. I'm now 35 and still haven't talked to them. One left for drugs and his new fam and then jail multiple times, and my mom left us for chomo. Honestly, you may feel sad now, but your mom sounds like a G. She may have made mistakes like we all do, but at least she tried to fix them and always seemed to have your best interest at heart. I shared a bit of my life with you, so you know that while it may still hurt, your true family are those who do not toss you out like trash. You did not owe him anything, and even though you were not nice in the last conversation with him, it was still a lot more than he deserved. I also have a 16-year-old stepdaughter whom I treat exactly like my own kids. Blood does not make family. I hope you got closure and you find your peace. Second update. A lot of context and info had to be cut out to fit the character limits on the forum, so I thought I would answer them. My mom is most frequently asked about, and I understand why people are the most curious about her. I will try to answer everything as best I can. Questions about my mom. Why did you forgive her, or why are you mad that you're not dad and not her? This is going to be a very long answer, so buckle up. The first part is that I, as a 7-year-old, hadn't been given the talk yet, and simply didn't have the capacity to understand what was going on. I just knew that mom was kissing someone else, and so she and dad were breaking up, but didn't grasp why or how that meant he wasn't my dad anymore. So, as many of you in the comments suggested, for a while, it was just me clinging to the only parent and stability I had. Dad left, mom didn't. It was simple. Middle school was when I started to process things, and crap really hit the fan. I hated my mom for a period there, and I mean hated her. I accused her of ruining my life, told her I hated her and a lot of other nasty things that I really regret. Our relationship was really rocky and strained, but we love each other a lot. And I'm just going to paste one of my earlier comments here because I think it summarizes things pretty well. I mean, it's easier because she has A, fully owned up to her actions, B, explicitly apologized and asked for forgiveness without expecting it as her due, and C, worked her butt off for the last 15 years to try and make up for some of the fallout. It's way easier to forgive someone who shows you through their actions how sorry they are. She taught me how to drive. She spent hours watching YouTube videos so she could help me with algebra homework. When I was drunk, alone, and scared at my first high school party, she was the one I called, and it picked me up no questions asked. My life with her wasn't easy, but I wouldn't trade her for any of my friends' parents. Who would you find easier to forgive? Someone who did you the biggest wrong but had a genuine regret and tried to make reparations? Or someone who hurt you slightly less and never reached out once? Also, I read a Scarlet Letter in high school and it made me reflect on my mother. And at a certain point, I was just like, how much penitence is enough? Does she just deserve to be miserable for the rest of her life? When will it be enough? I know that for some people, there's no amount of suffering she could go through that would make you forgive her or have a favorable opinion about her, and that's okay. She's my mom, not yours. Also, she's generally a nice person and much easier to be around than not dad. What were the extenuating circumstances you alluded to? This also factored a lot in my decision to mend our relationship and sympathize with her. When my dad had my oldest brother Andrew, he was 27 and my mom was 20. Their timeline is, met her when she was 17, started dating at 18, dated through freshman year of college. He pressured her to drop out of school the whole way through, and she finally drops and marries him halfway through sophomore year at age 20. Gives birth right before her 21st birthday. Not dad isolated her from friends, has her doing all the housework and childcare. And I mean like all of it. When I said he was involved as a dad, I should have clarified in the fun stuff. As a kid, you can't really tell the difference between a fun parent and a good parent. She has also confessed she suffered from PPD and never totally lost the weight from her pregnancies, which not dad liked to joke about publicly and berate her for privately. Yes, he paid for everything, but that was about it. And yes, I understand. Explanation but not excuse. But the portrait some of you are painting is, she was a greedy, freeloading hoe who deceived her perfect, loving provider husband and committed paternity fraud because she was evil and it was fun. The truth is that she was miserable and tried to remedy that by being with my bio father, which I understand is still not okay, and then was terrified to leave her even fess up. Because he had all the money and she wanted a good life for me, even if she had to lie to get me there. She says she was on the verge of confessing and called her mother, my grandma, to ask if she and I could potentially stay with her, and grandma was drunk when she picked up the phone. Grandma herself and her relationship with my mother is a whole different can of worms. Grandma was a violent alcoholic who lost and regained custody of my mom a lot, which led to her being assaulted by her foster father from ages 12 to 13, and there was a lot of resentment and hurt between them. But my mom said basically that grandma was her last resort, and when she heard her slurring her words over the phone, she lost all courage and decided to stick it through to the bitter end with my not dad. The thing that got me was when people kept saying, imagine if the person you loved betrayed you like this. Put yourself in the father's shoes. And the thing is, I don't think he loved her. I don't even think he really liked her. The truth about my mom is that she was a very hurt person who desperately wanted some affection and comfort. And my bio dad gave it to her when her husband wouldn't. Yes, it was wrong obviously, but my heart goes out to her in those circumstances. When she was my age, she had a toddler and a newborn, and was essentially a single mom, and I couldn't imagine being in her shoes. Her childhood gave her this almost desperate attachment pattern. Her foster situations never lasted longer than a few years, and around the time I was conceived, her marriage had lasted longer than any living situation she had ever had. And she confessed she felt this need to sabotage it, run from it, or change it, because change is all she knew. Once again, this is not an excuse. Just me explaining there was more going on in her psyche than, let me do this for a laugh. Obviously, I condemn her actions, but I get it. I feel for her. She's my mom. Am I the a-hole for suing my ex and her boyfriend? Plus updates. My ex and I divorced 3 years ago. She was cheating, but at this point, I don't care about the relationship anymore. The pending lawsuit has nothing to do with her or him, but rather their actions. My ex and I have a son, 13 male, that we split time with 50-50. He's a great kid. That interests have changed a lot, to be honest, as I imagine more kids/teenagers tend to do through the years. One thing my son was heavily into at some point was Legos. He uses to play with them all the time, and personally, I think they're a great toy for different reasons. I used to love playing them with him, and to this day, I still collect boxes that I'll leave unopened as a collection. Well, when my ex and I divorced, she got with someone who loved Legos more, I guess. From what I know, he loves making creations and building the sets in. I don't care. Seems cool. He does one thing I think is very, very weird though. He uses crazy glue so that the sets can't break or pieces can't be lost. It seems so weird to me. The issue is, I was out of town for all 3 days of last week for medical reasons, and my son wanted to get his PS4 so he could play it at his mom's. This isn't out of the ordinary at all, and he has a key, so he let me know he would be stopping over for it. I told him to have fun when I saw him on the entry camera. My wife's husband was with him, which was a no-no, and I told him via speaker to not go in and to wait on the porch. He flinched, but walked in anyway. I sent my ex a text telling her to call him and tell him he's 1 minute away from a cop call. He left my home, but with a bag in hand, which I didn't think much of because my son had his games too. Well, my son texted me later that evening and said he didn't know it at the time, but he's pretty sure the boyfriend took some of my sets. These are all old sets, and the two are worth big money. When I got home, I confirmed the missing sets and called my ex. She had no idea, but he admitted he took them, but it was so son could have the sets to complete his collection. My son doesn't even like Legos anymore, and told his mom he wouldn't steal from me. My wife asked how much it would cost to replace them, and unfortunately, it's more than their savings. Actually, it would take their house down payment, plus more. I told them if they didn't pay in 2 weeks, I was suing and pressing charges, and the price of the sets makes it a felony. My ex and her husband are saving for a house, which would give my son more space when he's there. But those sets were going to help pay for his education someday, or a home of his own. I filed a police report and have talked to a lawyer, and we're moving forward with the suit. Everyone is calling me a joke because they are toys, but I don't get it. They are worth real money. I'm not rich, guys. I needed those to help with my son's future. But again, taking this money does deny my son things at his mom's house. Am I the a-hole here? Added to add, the sets have been opened, which more than half their worth, and one was glued together. The damage was done already. The stolen items are King's Castle, Milk Truck, Legoland Train Carousel, and the glued one was a Star Wars Snow Speeder. Some of these are one piece of a larger set. So if you lose 1 of 5, you lose the value of one product, plus the value of the set as a whole. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Looking at it from just a monetary value, I don't believe your friends would be saying the same if he had stolen X amount of money. He shouldn't have entered your house without permission, and he shouldn't have stolen the sets. He broke the law, so he faces the consequences of his actions. It's about as simple as that. The man is a thief, plain and simple. He committed a felony and needs to face the consequences for his actions. Also, there's no way he didn't go in there for the sole purpose of stealing those sets. Not the a-hole OP. You might also want to consider going for full custody. You don't want your son spending 50% of his time with a felon and someone enabling a felon. Or at least a restraining order against a boyfriend, so he can't enter your property again without consequences. To be fair, entering a property without the owner's permission, or in this case specifically with the owner telling you to get lost, is always going to have consequences. Wait, so someone who you didn't want in your house entered your house and then took something from you? How are you anything but not the a-hole? They are arguing that I'm denying our son a bigger living space while she has him. This is actually true. Well, not by denying it, but it would take all their savings for a house and they'd still fall short. So they're trying to blame the victim. This is an easy fix on their part. Return what they stole and everything goes away. Are they fighting with you about this? They can't return them in the same condition. They were all opened and one was out together, glued. Opening the box takes a lot of the value away, unfortunately. For anyone wondering, the milk truck is worth between $2,000 and $3,000. The King's Castle goes anywhere from $500 to $1,000. The Snow Speeder is around $300 to $500, and the only cheap one is the Legoland Train, and that's if it's the 2016 one, and goes for about $46. Now for the first update. I know I haven't been here much, but I have read many of your comments and taken them to heart. I know my spelling is poor, guys, and I apologize for the format. Calling me names in my private message was not called for, and I am not a scalper. I enjoy buying these sets and do not intend to sell all of them, but I want my son to go to college and not worry about debt, so I want to sell the ones that I can to help. I never had a smarts for higher education, but my son is not me, and I love him and want him to do better. Around 4 p.m., I called the local state police and met at their facility. I gave them all I had and gave my statement. My son is with me starting tonight, so when I picked him up, I sent him into GameStop and called his mom. I told her I had filed charges, that I asked the cop to call me when everything was done so I could give him the opportunity to turn himself in. I wanted to be better than he treated me. I'll save her reaction for a real update, by the way. Then I told my son when we got home what I did and why. My son said that I did the right thing, because he didn't want his stepdad to think it was okay to do it again. And if he didn't go to jail, he'd rather be away from him so it isn't weird. And now for the full update. I have received a few requests regarding posting an update, and I did promise to update the situation once it was resolved. And as far as I have any say, the headache is over for the most part. I can't say that I feel whole, but I'm not angry about it as I think the consequences are something to respect. I read through most of the comments and really appreciate the time most of you took out of your day to offer advice and well wishes. I know I didn't respond to all of them, but your time and care were noticed. I accept all your judgments, but I must say your kindness blew me away while some took time out of their day just to be mean, which is on you, I guess. I understand Legos are toys, but I enjoy the hunt, and it's worth it to me. As I said, I decided to go to the police with a video, my statement, texts from my ex, and emails. I told the police I wanted this pursued as he had entered my house after being told not to, and stole valuables. They took everything I had to offer, and as of yesterday, my ex's boyfriend was arrested for a few different violations/loss. He was charged with grand larceny and breaking and entering, among a few other charges. My ex is really upset at me, and him. However, she bailed him out, so I'm guessing she isn't too upset with him. Ex's boyfriend has called a few times and showed up once. He left the used sets on my porch, and I'm not sure what he thinks that does at this stage. They aren't worthless, but their value is less than half. I told my lawyer he did this, and she was blown away. Then I sent an email to my ex telling her and him to stay away from me at my home, and I only wanted to hear from her if it was concerning our child. This was his first offense to my knowledge, so I don't expect him to do jail time. However, my lawyer said it was possible due to the amount of crimes and when/how they took place. Apparently, doing that during the day is worse, and he did it in front of my child, which doesn't help him. I expect a leg day probation, to be honest with all of you, but I'm very far from a legal expert. I spoke to the lawyer on Tuesday this week regarding the loss, and unfortunately, I'm looking at a tough road ahead of me. The pieces stolen are valued at what they sell at auction, which the local DA will decide which auctions are reputable. So, that could go different ways. Moreover, the fact the boyfriend broke up my sets were irrelevant. The lawyer said it would be like stealing one baseball card out of an entire set and burning it. You are only owed the value of that one card even if you can't get that one card again. The fact he returned them is an admission of guilt, she said, and that we could definitely reclaim the amount of money and an open set for each would be worth, but it doesn't make the matter better in my opinion. I know a lot of you thought 10 to 20K wasn't nearly enough for a house down payment, but in my neck of woods, it's plenty. And my lawyer recommended we go forward with a civil suit and I agreed. With that and the legal charges, I feel that is well enough. I will have enough savings and Lego stock, lol, to fund his 4 years at a good state school. I wish I could do more, but you can't win them all. My son has been staying with me full-time as he feels it's awkward at his mom's, and is pretty upset at his mom about the whole thing. But I'm trying to smooth that over best I can, considering the circumstances. He has asked to stay here full-time, which I support, and told his mom as much. I told her we could do it through courts or keep it simple, and I think she wants to keep it simple. I haven't thought much about child support, but I don't think asking for a small amount would be bad. I don't want to break my ex, but our kid should come first. Thank you to everyone for their well wishes and thoughts. Best of luck to everyone out there. Again, if you have any questions, I'll try my best to answer them. Seriously, at what point did this grown man who knew he was not allowed in the house think that taking obviously unopened and collectible Lego sets to then glue them together was not going to go his way? Well, we are talking about somebody who glues their Lego sets together. I hate to say it, but I had this exact thought. The kind of person who glues Lego sets together is not the kind of person who understands what makes them valuable to collectors, as a rule. I will never understand the people who dismiss this kind of thing as, oh, those are just toys, without even thinking about it. Hell, I have a Lego collection that is all out of boxes and assembled, and that collection is still valuable enough to merit a specific rider on my homeowner's insurance. A lot of people fabulously undervalue something if they don't care about it. After all, how much could it be worth to you if it doesn't hold any value to me? It blows my mind that the ex really thought he could go in and steal the sets without any consequences, and then bringing them back. The absolute cheek of entering the house to steal valuables, while the homeowner is on the intercom telling you to get out, and that you don't have their permission to enter, and then acting shocked when your blatantly criminal actions are being treated as criminal actions. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law to get over himself and to quit holding a 10-year-old grudge? My brother-in-law, married to my sister, is a general contractor. About 10 years ago, my dad and brother was building a deck at my parents' home. They asked my brother-in-law if they could borrow his skid loader, but he said no. They prepared the ground as best as they could without a skid loader, but got to the point they couldn't go on without it. They went to my sister's house to ask again, but found out brother-in-law went out of town. They talked my sister into letting them borrow it, so she took them down to his construction lot and they hooked it up to Dad's truck. This next part I'm not sure of since I don't know much about towing, but from what I was told, Dad's truck wasn't big enough or powerful enough to tow the skid loader on a dump trailer, so lost control and wrecked. The truck, trailer, and skid loader were totaled. The insurance was barely enough to cover the medical costs and the truck, and there was none left over to cover brother-in-law's stuff. When he got back to town, he exploded. He threatened to sue, and things just went downhill from there. My parents are not rich, and he wouldn't have gotten anything, so in the end, sister talked him into letting it go. However, from that day on, he wouldn't have anything to do with our family. He doesn't come for birthdays, holidays, nothing at all. Next month is our parents' 50th anniversary, and we're planning a big family gathering to celebrate. We're also chipping in to send our parents on a cruise to Mexico because they've never been out of the country. I spoke to sister about it the other day and she said she's coming with the kids but brother-in-law's not coming. I was fine with that, but when we were discussing their portion of the cruise money, I heard him yelling in the background to deduct their portion from the cost of the skid loader and the dump trailer. That angered me. So after my call with sister, I called brother-in-law and told him to get over himself. I said dad and brother made a mistake. But that was 10 years ago and he needs to let it go. He said let it go when they give him the money he lost. I told him he's an a-hole for holding on to a grudge and putting money in the way of a family relationship. Sister called me a few minutes ago and said they're not coming anymore and that I was out of line. We argued for a bit and that's where it stands. I don't think I'm wrong for telling him to let go of the past, but they're not coming to the anniversary party, so now I'm not sure. Answers to your questions. Let's get something straight. My dad and brother are not bad people. They are good people who made a mistake. They couldn't pay back brother-in-law because he wanted almost $70,000. And again, we're not rich. Dad had to buy another truck because he needed it to go to work. On the other hand, brother-in-law had other 3 sets of skid loaders and dump trailers on his lot that day, so he could take the financial hit while my parents would be homeless. Brother-in-law and sister are way better off than the rest of us. So while I understand your reasoning for paying brother-in-law back, he doesn't need it. The cruise to Mexico isn't some millionaire trip. The total cost is about $3,000. It'll take over 20 people to pay for that. Again, we're not rich. We can barely cover $3,000 spread out over 20 people. So there's no way we can pay $70,000. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Your family stole $50,000+ in work equipment from your brother-in-law. They didn't pay him back. By the sounds of it, showed zero remorse, and he should just get over it? You and your family sound massively entitled. Your brother-in-law is smart to cut a lot of you clean off. Not just that, I'm actually surprised insurance paid out anything. In the UK, this would be an at-fault claim, and more likely than not outside the scope of insurance because they are towing beyond their vehicle limit. Parents should be grateful all he's done is ignore them. I would have sued. Courts, again in the UK, set up payment plans, so their relative lack of wealth wouldn't be a major issue. Beyond that, I would have also reported it stolen. To be fair about this though, the sister shouldn't have let them have it against his wishes. It wasn't her stuff to share. He should be pissed off at her as well. You can't have a successful relationship if you're not on the same page. In the UK, brother-in-law could have claimed off his own insurance by reporting the theft, as long as his wife has no authorization within the company to loan out equipment. Of course, this could have led to the prosecution of his wife and her family for the theft, and result in a criminal record, prison sentence, etc. Which they would have deserved. He should have reported it to the police. I am surprised he didn't divorce OP's sister, especially because only he went no contact with father-in-law and brother-in-law. His wife didn't, and she even expected him to let it go, and not try to get compensation for his destroyed stuff. Sister knew he previously said no, and that those are his work equipment, so she has absolutely no right to go anywhere near them, let anyone near them. And now they were talking about OP's sister's family, giving money to the parents after how much they already cost her husband, his family, and company. OP's family has no right to ask sister and her husband for cash at all. You're the a-hole. OP's family's full of entitled a-holes. OP, OP's father, OP's brother, OP's sister. Update. Am I the a-hole for not helping my ex after he left our business? Original story. I, female 29, met my ex Ben, male 29, in college and started a business right after our senior year. Our relationship often got toxic, but I think being business partners kept us together. Eventually, our business started having financial troubles. Ben comes from wealth, so I asked him to get a loan from his parents, which he agreed to. 2 months later, Ben suddenly asked for all the money back. We were always planning to pay it, but we had mutually decided on manageable installments, and I was not in a position to return all of it at the same time. Ben said his father was very sick, and since he was in retirement, his health insurance situation was tricky. This seemed particularly odd to me because 1, Ben did not give me any details on the sickness. 2, he didn't let me call his mother because she was grieving and couldn't talk about finances. 3, Mom had more than enough money to pay for his treatment. Every time I tried to investigate, he asked me to trust him, and that's what I did. Getting the money back was an ordeal. We had already invested all of it in the business, and I had to take some out and even give away all of my personal savings. About 3 weeks after this, Ben called me to tell me that we are done. He also wanted out from the business. And the only other time I saw him was with lawyers when we were dividing our business assets and he was withdrawing his name from all of the official documents. I was devastated. In addition to all the emotional trauma, I had virtually no finances to fall back on and moved back in with my mother for a bit. I never heard from Ben, and after talking to some of our mutual friends who were on my side, I found out that Ben's father was not actually sick. I wasn't surprised. 5 years later, I never gave up on my business, and slowly it grew and helped me pay all of my debts and live a comfortable life. I heard from some friends that both of Ben's parents passed away, but I didn't pay it much heed. In the midst of lockdown, I got an email from Ben. I knew this was not going to be good, but I responded, guided by my curiosity to know what he did with all that money. His parents had cut him out of their will, and he had a child with a woman who abandoned them. He also got laid off because of COVID, and he told me he was struggling to feed his son. Told me that since he was instrumental to the business foundation, he deserved a cut from it now that it was successful. When I asked him about the money, he said his parents were pressuring him, which I did not believe. They were always on board with his frivolous purchases and knew me well enough to tell me if they wanted it back. I consulted my lawyer, who said Ben had no legal claims to the business. But when I told my best friend about it, she said that she was appalled by the fact that I didn't give it a second thought, especially because he was responsible for the business idea, and his initial investment was twice as much as mine. She thinks I'm an a-hole, so I'm here to find out. Now for the top comments before reading the update. That's a clear not an a-hole. Congratulations to you for persevering with the idea long enough to make it a success. Exactly. Very clear not an a-hole. No idea why any friend would suggest otherwise, actually.
I met her through him. She says she has always liked me more and hasn't spoken to him since the debacle, but I don't know how true that is anymore. I mainly consulted her because she knew the entire story thoroughly, but now it seems like she has a massive conflict of interest. He lied about his father being sick. He is probably lying about the child. Do not let your friend guilt trip you. The guilt trip is spot on. My friend told me that since I struggled financially at some point, I should have empathy because he is in the same situation now. He hasn't changed, or he would have reached out to you to apologize at some point over the years. He's only reaching out because he wants money now. It's highly doubtful his parents didn't leave him money. He is a liar. If his son is hungry, there are tons of free programs for food during the pandemic. I get emails weekly from my kid's school about resources to free meals. Your best friend sucks. You are not the a-hole. You don't owe your ex at all. You did the work, so you get to reap the rewards. She usually tries to play the devil's advocate, but I think this time she took it too far. And now for the update. It's been some time since I posted this, but I wanted to thank all of you for steering me in a clear direction. The volume of responses was overwhelming, and I'm sorry for not getting back to all of you. Now for the update. My ex does really have the son, and I was able to verify this. I also found out that he wasn't cut out of his parents' will. The money simply just wasn't as much as he was expecting. Even though he did lose his job, he had a lot of fallback money. I also forgot an important detail in my first post. I recently did an interview in a local newspaper about my business, and my ex may have read that and found out that my business was doing well. Since I didn't need that money, my only explanation for why he reached out to me is that he felt entitled to my success and the money I made. Now about my friend. She admitted that he reached out to her before he emailed me, but later after some coaxing, she told me that they had been speaking casually for some years. I'm not the most confrontational person, so I cut her out of my life. And yesterday, I found out through Facebook that they're engaged. Well, one last thank you. I am admittedly a gullible person, and you all helped me not get played. Yesterday, I found out through Facebook that they're engaged. Oh, this actually made me chuckle. Sounds like they deserve each other. Choo-choo. Train wreck coming down the track. Congrats on the business success and in not getting sucked into their scam. Sounds like you've learned some valuable lessons, without too much long-term damage. What a crappy friend. She wanted to coax Opie to give her future fiancé money. Yeah, a couple of con artists, those two. I really hope things go better for you, Opie. I'm glad you got that toxicity out of your life. Stay safe, Opie. Your ex and your ex-friend deserve each other. Congrats. I know, right? Opie, you deserve a partner who will cherish and love you forever. I really hope you find that, be it a romantic or platonic partner. Really sucks that your friend wasn't on him trying to scam you. Stick to your guns and protect yourself and your business, cause no way is a part of it. Hope you stay safe and can stay afloat. Well, more than anything, it has been a learning experience. Thank you for your wishes. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for rejecting conditional help? My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 26 female, have been together for about 3 years now. We spent the past year living together and watched his mom die of cancer. It was brutal, but I was always with him. We just got our own place. Boyfriend has an office job while my work is in flux. Moving without a secure job made me nervous, so boyfriend offered to pay more than half our rent. I didn't accept, so we didn't discuss it further. I lost more income this month, so very nervously, I began to ask boyfriend if he was able to cover about $150 more for 1 to 2 months, less than he offered. I asked generally. He was tepid, but he said sure, he could help. The next morning, we fought, and related to finances. I was upset and took an hour walk. Long story, but boyfriend said that by being gone longer than 20 minutes, I wasn't respecting him. He said that now he thinks about it, he isn't comfortable helping me with rent. He brought it up again until I addressed the comment specifically. I told boyfriend that I thought this was an appropriate way and time in which to bring up sensitive logistics, and it felt manipulative. He told me his help is conditional, especially the money. He will not help me if I don't treat him well. The fact he offered to help me with rent in the past doesn't matter. He said he has money to spare, but the fact that I just assumed he had a comfortable income, or that he would help because he offered to help before, is disrespectful. He wanted me to know that his withdrawing of support is repercussion of my behavior, / the argument. I told him I understood his discomfort, and I'm sorry, but I won't rely on you for financial support if it's conditional. I can't rely on you if it means I walk in eggshells, anxious about fighting with you or upsetting you in case you withdraw help anytime we argue. I will pay my own way and figure it out. Your money is yours, and I won't count on it. Hey, his money is his money. I'm not upset it doesn't feel comfortable helping me, but I am about the discussion and conditions. However, when I said I didn't want his help, he got very upset and angry. He said that the only reason I felt trust had been broken was because I wasn't viewing things objectively, and if I was more empathetic, I would see that he was right. He yelled after me, "What? So you don't want my help at all anymore? Because if so, I'm going to backcharge you for half of your birthday, etc. Is that what you want? I want you to tell me before I tally everything up." I told him to stop goading me and leave me alone. Am I the a-hole for believing that after everything, his help shouldn't just be conditional? I'm not entitled to his money. Never. But if he agrees to do something, isn't it wrong to make his help totally dependent on if he deems my behavior appropriate or respectful enough? Am I the a-hole for saying that I don't want to rely on him out of fear he'll resent his help if I step out of line, and I feel uncomfortable that he would leverage logistical aspects of our lives in unrelated arguments? Not the a-hole. It seems incredibly controlling and manipulative. Don't take his help under any conditions, and take steps to make sure he cannot financially control you in any way. I think you are spot on in seeing red flags here. And honestly, eventually everyone is in a position to need help. Maybe you should find a partner who you can be vulnerable to without fear of reprisals. Incredibly controlling. That's why he was so angry when she said she didn't want his help. Because he thought he had found a way to control her. Red flag galore. Agreed. And he is still trying to find ways to hold it over her head by threatening to backcharge her for birthday gifts. What the actual hell? Not the hell. Literally explicitly told you that he plans to hold money over your head and use it to control your behavior and force you to act however he wants. Shy of actually standing in front of you and saying the words, "From this point on, I will be using my more secure financial position to financially mistreat you." There is no way he could make it any more clear that that's what he's doing. Yep, exactly what I was thinking. Pretty sure I first saw it on here, but when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Not a-hole. He's trying to financially control you. Stay independent and run from this relationship as fast as you can. If you have his child, you're screwed. It's scary how explicit he was about it. Like he told her he was going to financially abuse her. Usually it happens slowly over time, but he just came right out and said it. I hope he needs to get away from him as soon and as quietly as she can. That is so not okay. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for being upset my husband upgraded my engagement ring and changing it back? My husband and I didn't really have a spontaneous proposal. We just mutually agreed we wanted to get married on next date. I told him that for my engagement ring, I wanted to wear my late mom's. It's a simple gold band with a small diamond on its own. My husband wanted to add onto it and make it fancy, but I honestly loved it as is, and I'm not into big flashy jewelry. He reluctantly agreed and I started wearing it not long after. When it came to pick out wedding bands, I chose one similar to his, gold and not flashy. I could tell he was disappointed that I didn't want a traditional band. Fast forward 10 years and our anniversary was a couple of weeks ago. I can't wear jewelry at work and we have 3 young kids, so I tend to not wear my rings anymore unless we're going out to eat or there's a special occasion. I keep both in my jewelry box. Every year for our anniversary, birthdays and Christmas too, we just flat out tell the other what we want so there's no confusion. This year was my turn to treat for our big dinner, and he wanted this pricey tool bench that he could use for his hobby. I told him all I wanted was a new purse and sent him the link. Come our anniversary, he gets his tool bench and is over the moon. I notice my gift is smaller than a purse should be and open it. It's my engagement ring, but basically supersized. There's a few other diamonds and he added an inscription. The cost of all of this was way more than the $40 purse I wanted. I was in shock and asked why he did that. He said to surprise me. I said that I liked the ring as is. It's been in my family for a few generations, and he basically ruined it by glamming it up. He got upset and started calling me ungrateful, even though I've told him several times throughout the years that I don't like flashy rings and I wanted to keep it the same. He refused to tell me where he got it done, so I had to do some digging and paid for it to be mostly reverted into its original state, though they were wary about removing the inscription as the ring is so old. I did end up paying a hefty chunk. My husband is continuing to call me ungrateful and says it was a present. I told him I didn't like it, and he should have checked with me before making those changes. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. That was incredibly insensitive and selfish of him. I have no idea why he didn't just get you a flashy anniversary ring if it matters to him that you have a flashy ring that you would then never wear. Damaging your family's heirloom for his ego makes no sense to me. I would be dragging him to couples counseling so someone else can take the time to explain why what he did is awful. My bet is that he thought when she wears a flashy ring, everyone would think her hubby's so great to buy her such an expensive ring. If the ring is plain, the people think that her hubby is stingy and they feel bad for her. So it was a present for his ego. He is an insensitive a-hole. I would let him sleep on the couch till he knows he did something really wrong. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He messed with a family heirloom just so you will wear a ring which flatters his ego. And he basically got a gift for himself instead of a gift for her. If he was so hell-bent on getting a flashy ring, why not an eternity ring? Lots of people do that for the 10th. To destroy an heirloom ring is beyond selfish and ignorant. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You told him numerous times you didn't like flashy jewelry, and you didn't want nothing done to your late mother's ring. He betrayed your trust, took the ring and had it done his way without even telling you. To top it all off, it didn't even belong to him. All that money he put into upgrading that ring, he could have easily put into getting a ring he liked, instead of touching your late mother's ring. That's the sole reason I'm furious for you, OP. He could have went and picked out any ring at the jewelry shop, but he took the one that meant the most to you and basically destroyed it in a sense, and you were lucky to have it restored. When he calls you ungrateful next time, tell him you at least didn't betray his trust or boundaries or your mother's memory like he did. That'll shut him up right quick. Not to mention that he wouldn't even tell her where the changes were made when she was trying to fix it. Then didn't even cover the cost of undoing the damage he did. Not only did he give a gift that she explicitly didn't want, but then she had to pay to undo it while he refused to help her. Not the a-hole at all. And I really hope she's noticing all of the red flags here beyond the many obvious ones. This guy's behavior is awful on so many levels.
Update. Because of my 31 female husband of 10 years, 42 male actions, I'm losing my friends and family. Original post. We have been married for almost 10 years and have 2 children together. Over the past few years, my friends and family members have distanced themselves from us, to the point where some will no longer spend time with us. I know that my husband can be very rude and controlling, like dictating where everyone sits when we're out at dinner with friends, playing only his music when we have people over at our house, picking fights with me in public, etc. And I can understand them not wanting to spend time socially with him. However, he will not let me go and spend time with them on my own. He is quite jealous of me. I asked my sister, 35 female, about this, and she told me some rather disturbing things. Namely that after her husband and mine had an argument, my husband then had started spreading rumors that her significant other had interfered with our children. He then contacted her directly and implied that her husband was cheating on her. What the heck? Neither of these things have any basis in truth. One of my other friends recently told me that my husband told them I cheated on him all the time. They figured it was lies, but felt uncomfortable talking to me about it. After I asked him why he would say that, he had a heated argument with them and screamed at them for interfering in his marriage.
He picks fights with me when we are visiting with friends, making it awkward for everyone, and has previously abandoned me at others' houses because he was angry. All of this adds up to them not wanting to spend time with him, but it makes it very difficult for me to maintain those friendships due to his jealousy. There is more, but I don't know how much information to provide. Please ask me if you have any questions. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Sounds like you need a divorce. He's controlling your life in a way that you obviously don't want. Go seek help from a professional, or confront him about these things yourself. I have raised this issue a few times now, and his response is along the lines of, I only said/did this because. He has refused counseling even though I begged him to attend with me. It feels like he simply doesn't care that I'm losing my friends, and when I show that it's upsetting me, he criticizes them and tries to convince me that I'm better off without them. It's not that he doesn't care. It's that he relishes in driving away your friends and family. He is isolating you. Isolation is a common tactic of maltreating partners. It is easier for him to control you when you have no friends or family to support you. He is emotionally mistreating you. No one likes him, including you. You want your kids to learn that mistreatment is the normal way to conduct a marriage? No, you don't. Open your own bank account, lawyer up, and file for divorce. No, I don't. He is obviously not like this 100% of the time, but what he does leaves a foul taste in my mouth, and I don't respect him. If my daughter were in a relationship with a partner that acted like this, I would do everything in my power to help her leave. Eventually, the effort to maintain these community ties will become too exhausting, and you let them go. When that happens, he'll be your only source of support and love. You won't feel that you have any choice but to be obedient and please him, because without him your world will crumble. If that's not the kind of future you want, get out now. It's already starting to feel that way. First update. I just spoke with my sister and apologized for what my husband had said. As difficult as it was to get out, I told her that I was really unhappy and I didn't know if I should stay with him. She told me that while she was not comfortable spending any time around him, she would always be there for me no matter what I decided, and that I am welcome in her house at any time. She also said that if I do decide to leave, she would love to have a stay with her while sort things out. But when I asked her what she thought I should do, she said she couldn't tell me, but that I should think about things as though I was a close friend talking to myself. I don't know if that makes sense in the writing of it, but I hope you get the idea. Right now, I don't know what to do. And thinking through not only this, but other things he says and does, I am quite shattered. I feel sick. I don't know how I'll be able to handle my emotions when he gets home. And now for the last update. Well, it took about a month to finally tell him that I was done, that I was leaving, but I did it. Another month before I was able to move out properly, but I stuck to my decision. And here I am 8.5 months later. I struggle a lot with the things he has/is putting me through, but my friends and family have been fantastic support. One thing that stuck out in all of this was his reaction when I first told him that I wanted to leave. He broke down, told me how sorry he was, that he would change, he loved me, etc., and I had some hope that things would improve. Then the next morning he started the most god-awful fight, screaming at me for even thinking of leaving him. How could I do that to him? That he would never trust me with his heart again and all kinds of other BS. He started throwing things, ripped the curtains down, drank about half a bottle of vodka, and I just left. All I could think was how his reaction was all about him. This kind of crap continued for the next couple of weeks. I slept in the spare room but would wake up to him snuggling against me. He kept buying me perfume and flowers but then would smash something or scream at me in front of the kids. He didn't lay a hand on me, but I think there were times that he was close to it. Oh, and then he overdosed on some anti-anxiety medication his doctor had prescribed, so I called an ambulance and let them take him into the hospital, which meant that I didn't care at all apparently. His new girlfriend moved in within weeks of me moving out. That was a surprise. I honestly don't know if he cheated on me, but he had her lined up pretty quickly. He hasn't stopped him from sending me about 1 million messages demanding that we work on our marriage though. At the same time, he spreads lies about how I left him for another man, or he dumped me because I cheated on him. So many lies that I don't know how he keeps track of them all. I just don't reply to him or his friends anymore. It will be another few months before I can file for divorce. We have to be separated for 12 months first, but I'm happier. My days are peaceful, aside from the nasty messages I get, and my friends are wonderful. I've been doing counseling, which has helped some, but to be honest, I think just being away from him has been the best thing for me. I don't know how the property settlement will end up, He keeps making threats to bankrupt us, which I doubt he would do, but still. The court system here is pretty fair apparently, so I just give it to my solicitor. It's too much stress for me to try and deal with. My children are adjusting slowly. They're with me almost all the time. When we were going through the breakup month, my ex was pretty horrible in front of them, so it will take some time for them to heal. But we will be okay. Congratulations! It's hard, but you'll pull through it. Good job. I wish you the best for you and your children. Thank you. It has been hard, but I know I've done the right thing. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. It's been 2 years since I got out of my awful relationship, so I understand how rough it is transitioning from the mistreatment to a normal life, and still have problems with it today. I always have an ear ready to listen if you need one. Thank you so much. I will keep that in mind. My friends have been borne the brunt of my talking/crying, but they've been amazing. I'm glad that you were able to leave your situation back then. Wow, what an eventful update, and thank God you made the right decision. I love how he instantly moves in a new woman while shouting and storming at you to come back to him. I think he needs to learn to bait his hook better. Yes, that was mind-boggling to say the least. In a selfish way, I'm glad his attention isn't fully on me though. Next story. I left my husband, 35 male, a couple of weeks ago to get some space, and it confirmed for me that I, 27 female, don't want to reconcile. I don't know how to respond to his pleas for me to come back. We've been together 8 years, married for 4. It's been a roller coaster since we got married. Here's the short of it. He disclosed credit card debt when we got married. I helped pay it off. We talked about money and other big values, and we seemed to be on the same page or willing to compromise. So I went into the marriage happy. We bought a house soon after, and I got pregnant. In the next 3 years, he brought another gun into the house. After agreeing to only having one for home defenses, I did not want any. He didn't help at all when our son was born. In fact, he made things more difficult by not cleaning up after himself. Then I found that he had credit cards I didn't know about, and had gotten $25,000 in debt. Then he got a concealed carry permit, after agreeing not to get one before we got married. Then I found him on a dating site which he had paid a $30 premium membership for. Then I found out that he hadn't actually been paying down his debt like I thought. It was down to $15,000, but then it went back up to $22,000. He started getting mean in last year, making comments and calling me names when we argued. He bought a new dream car which increased his monthly payment and caused him to have to work more overtime. Then he threatened to lay his hands on me a couple months ago. That's when I started planning to leave. It's been a few weeks and I'm so much happier. My son is adjusting well, and had been spending a couple days a week with his dad, with me dropping by to put him to bed to make the transition a little easier. He's been this black cloud over my life, causing huge amounts of stress and constant anxiety. I feel so much calmer and happier without him. My husband wants to try counseling. We've done a few sessions with 2 different therapists in the past, and every time he came out of it angry and refused to go back until we found a different counselor. He always feels like they are against him. It's been months and he just recently found one. I'm willing to go, but to improve our communication and co-parenting. My problem now is that he's texting me that he misses me, that he's nothing without me, that I have to come home because we're a family, that he needs his wife back, that he's not sleeping well. It goes on and on. I don't know how to handle these. I've been pretending that I'm going to bed early so that I don't have to reply. I feel terrible for ignoring them, but the truth is that I don't miss him. I don't want to be cruel and say that straight up, but I also don't want to lie and say I do. I'm afraid to drop divorce on him because he's not in a good place mentally, and I'm afraid he will just crumble. He's been on medication and in counseling for years, but his depression is still bad. He will not listen to boundaries I said about not talking about our relationship outside of counseling. I still care about him, so it's hard to watch him hurting so much while I'm feeling so much better. Now for the advice. Lawyer up and build a calm, secure life your son needs. I noticed he's not saying what he's done wrong, /apologizing, etc. Just how awful his life is. Be glad you're done with him other than co-parenting. If you agree to counseling, make sure he and the therapist knows you're only interested in improving your ability to co-parent your child and not getting back together. Well, given the history, it sounds like you are 100% making the right choice. My biggest concern here is for your safety. You've said that he is battling mental illness, and B carries a concealed weapon. I'm sorry to say it that way, but those are the facts of the matter. This could be a dangerous situation, so you need to make sure you and your child are protected. Do you have family who can help you? Maybe you can stay with them when you break the news to him about divorce. If you know people who live far away, that might be even better. Whatever your next step is, just be very careful and very aware of keeping yourself safe. You may not think it's capable of anything, but better safe than sorry. Oh, and I should mention that you need to protect your finances as much as possible. And maybe get your ducks in a row with that before you tell him about the divorce. He had a mental health crisis not too long ago and all of his guns were taken. I'm staying with my parents, so I feel safe right now. I have access to cameras at his house so I can check in on our son while he's there. I'm trying to do as much as I can to keep us safe. Last story is titled, My husband just spent a ton of money on himself and his dog, knowing I was trying to save up so my kids could actually have a Christmas. I think I'm here more or less to vent than anything else. I lost my job a month ago due to medical issues, and I'm currently very close to being able to get back out there. I can see the end of the tunnel, but I'm still in a lot of pain. My husband is now the breadwinner for the first time ever since being together, 8 years. My children are not his biological kids. He got a dog 2 years ago and that is his baby. Like won't go anywhere without his dog. It is like an unhealthy attachment. Like if he gets home from work, he won't even speak to me, but will immediately love on his dog and continue to do so all night, while take care of the entire house. Has her sit on his lap all night long basically. He treats me and the kids fine, don't get me wrong. He is not mean. He is attentive for the most part. He just very obviously loves his baby much more. Anyways, we got our workers' relief check in the mail on Monday of last week. I went and cashed them on Friday and put them in the bank, and fully told him I plan to spend that on my kids for Christmas, which is going to be incredibly small this year. Maybe 2 items at most, because we are broke, but I told him this anyways. Today he had a day off and he ended up going and dropping $90 on a pair of shoes that he didn't need. He has like 4 other pairs that he makes up excuses to not wear. A new insulated hat and face mask that cost almost $30. A new 12-feet phone charger for himself despite us having 2 regular chargers already. And then dropped almost $80 on his dog. Treats, jackets, booties, hat. He also paid rent and our other bills. So now we have $34 left over. Which means he literally spent all of my workers' relief checks, so now I have nothing. I confronted him on it and he said not to worry about it because he will have 4 paychecks between now and Christmas. And the kids will still have crap for Christmas. But the thing is, we have almost $400 coming out for his back debt payments. My kids are going to have an awful Christmas even more than they were already looking at. Because he spent all this money on unnecessary things that he and his dog definitely didn't even need. I'm so upset. I know I will figure it out, no question, whether I need to go through a Toys for Tots program or not, but I can't tell if I'm allowing this to build resentment. Because admittedly, Christmas is my favorite holiday, and I like spending at least $150 on each of my kids. But this year, I will be lucky to spend maybe $50 each. I feel this was so disrespectful that he spent the only money he had that was actually mine on himself and his dog. We couldn't have separate bank accounts because he owed money from his previous bank. He was 19, and his mother was writing and bouncing checks in his name. So it was either get on the account with me as a secondary, or pay back almost $9,000 worth of stuff that his mother should have been paying back. We had a rough start because of our ignorance. His credit was destroyed already when I met him at 18 because his mother completely screwed him. This is the first time this has ever happened. I had no reason prior to not trust him being on my account. We were best friends for 7 years prior to dating. Well, it doesn't sound like you're his best friend at all now. Exactly. How is he your best friend if he doesn't like your kids? Because my BFF has a kid, and I buy her unprompted several Christmas and birthday presents every year, and sometimes just because. I'll praise her art or chat with her when I'm on the phone with my friend. Yes, your friends don't have to love your kids, but if you're going to give them a parent's role in your kid's life, then yeah, they absolutely do need to love and prioritize them. What the heck are you teaching your kids to accept from relationships and the adults in their lives? The fact that he can't get another bank account in no way, shape or form, means you can't have another one. You need your own savings account for Christmas at the absolute least. Bigger than that though, the situation is concerning. Being married to someone who hasn't actually accepted your kids as their own is problematic. If you can tell he cares about the dog more than he cares about them, so can they.
That's a really crappy position to put your kids in. The selfishness is an issue, as is you explicitly telling him how you wanted to spend the money, and him responding by just spending it on something else instead of discussing it if he had an issue. A stepdad loved a dog more than me and his bio daughter. We knew